Well, how can you learn skills that you already had when you came from Africa? And I said, exactly. Now let's talk about that. And so that when they talk about, well, when we read this book, we learned that were already masters of agriculture. And oh yeah, what about metallurgy? They already knew the science of smelting and making metal. And then the thing that the children in Florida's public schools or wherever they teach that in that way, the thing that they will never know is that your ancestors were not just stolen, they were chosen. And they were chosen because they had those skills. They were chosen because they were masters of agriculture already. They were chosen because they were masters of architecture already. They came here with the skills. And at the end of or the legal end of slavery, they had mastered those skills because of the position that they were put in, and then they used those skills to start to try to build their own communities. That's the part that they will never get. You were masters of those skills before you got here, and that is why you were chosen to be here. Like, if you were running a business and you could make someone work in it, and you had the opportunity to choose a master of the skill or someone who knows it or someone who has no idea of what they're doing, which one are you going to I'm not going to say the word employ, but which one would you choose? So our students know from reading, from study, from education, all of the things that they already knew prior to getting into the West, either by choice, because we came here by choice, or by force. We already knew these skills. We already had
Yeah.
these skills. We just were better at the skills at the end of enslavement because of the situation that we had been put under, and then use them to build our own businesses, to build our own communities, to educate our own children. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the part that when the children in public schools are taught that way, that's the part they'll never know. And that's the part that's left out. Now, if you take that same wording and you just tweak it a little bit, it's not egregious. It's not egregious anymore. When you tweak it a little bit and say that they use the skills that they already had to benefit the communities that they now had the opportunity to build and rebuild, that's different. That is different. And that is different to the mind of the child, to the psychology of the child,
Yeah.
not just the American African children who are sitting in the room, but the children of European descent as well. They don't have to feel bad about that. There's nothing to feel bad about in that, in
Right.
knowing that truth. But now, if you only give them that they were enslaved, they got skills from being enslaved, and now they're better. Oh, well, we helped you. This was helpful.
And that's
No,
the whole and that's the
yeah,
whole premise of what Governor DeSantis, and granted, it's probably not him. There's probably some conservative coalition that's,
A real
you
Mensa
know,
think tank, I'm
really
sure.
like pushing him. And look, if it's Dennis Prager, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. I mean, I've heard that guy's nonsense for the better part of 3 decades. Um, he used to go on regularly on Bill Maher's first show. So this guy's been out there spewing his stuff for a very long time. And the privatization of education in the state, when we open the floodgates for that, it would seem that it's almost inevitable that something like this was eventually going to find its way into that pathway, because ultimately it is all about the privatization of the education system. That's the goal, and that goal is to teach a one size fits all style of education that really benefits the people at the top that want to rewrite history.
But we have a very cool clip that you had shared with us. So I want to play that. I have this little clip. So tell us what this, because this is your students. You were just talking about your students. And so what did you tell them before you made this video? Like, what was the prompt for this video that they did?
This was actually somewhat of a healing piece. After reading that, after learning that so many children in the state of Florida would be learning in this way, but they don't have the background information that they have as students, they were sad.
Okay, so let's play that. CJ, you got
They
to
were
see
sad. And then so we created this video as a way of saying, don't stay. I know it hurts a little bit, but we don't have to stay there. Get up. Come on, get up.
It's really, it's
quick.
It's quick. It's very quick, guys.
It's effective.
Yeah.
Look at me. What about me would make you think that I care about your opinion of me? Your opinion of me is not the opinion that I have of myself. You ain't make me, so you can't break me. You didn't build me, so you can't kill me.
It's sweet, and they're cute little faces, and I'm very thankful that you are doing what you're doing. Like, seriously, it shouldn't have to be that way. Like, it should just be that everything is sort of taught from the perspective of different people. Like, it just shouldn't be such a fight for people to learn history. It shouldn't be such a fight.
So I want to interject a bit, just because you started talking about the chat, and I looked into the chat, and I was just like,
don't do that. Look away from the chat.
Yeah, you're totally right. But there's a lot of talk about, like, I guess the white guilt that comes from all of what it is that we're talking about, like the true history of this country. And as a man, right? Like, there is a privilege box that I check, right?
Yes.
By being a Black man, I am a man, so that privilege of living in a patriarchal society exists. I acknowledge that. Learning about how men have been privileged for the entirety of the U.S. history up until, even now to this day, right, where women make 75 cents to each dollar that a man makes, and women couldn't get credit cards until the 1970s, and they weren't allowed to open up bank accounts. And it's like, learning that was done by individuals of my gender does not make me feel like, oh, I'm a piece of crap, right? Like, it makes me say, okay, men have done horrible things and under the banner of patriarchy. And then what it allows me to do is say, okay, well, as a man and as a leader of my community at this point, I'm going to do what I can to now to change the direction of our society in which those ways do not exist anymore. So the idea that, like, every single person that learns about the history of their ancestors automatically goes to guilt and resentment and bitterness and, like, oh, well, we all just suck, when the reality is that, like, some of you do because y'all just can't critically think.
Okay, some of you do.
But some of us actually say, well, because of my ancestors, I'm going to strive to be better. And that's actually the idea. It's funny, right? That's the idea of a progressive. That's literally how progression in a society is supposed to work. You're consistently and constantly better than the generation before you. So, people use the words conservative and progressive very loosely. And I don't really think people understand exactly what it is when they're saying that. Because for me, if I hear someone say that they're conservative, they're saying, okay, I want things to kind of remain the way that they've been for however long they want to say that. But for someone in my position, no, I don't like where Black people are in this country now. I don't like where we were 50 years ago. I don't like where we were 100 years ago. So I'm always going to strive to make today and tomorrow better than yesterday. So just to kind of give, whoever was saying whatever about white guilt and all Black kids aren't going to like white kids because of what they're learning. It's like, no, that's projection. Some of us see that history, learn that history, and decide to be better.
Yeah, I have a couple things to say about white guilt. I think people really have a hard time distinguishing between what guilt is. Words have meaning, okay? So like, I don't have guilt. I don't have guilt. I have a very keen awareness of my privilege. And I have a very, deep desire to understand more and to learn as much as I can and that, but I don't feel guilty, right? Like, so I think that you can be aware of, like what you're saying, of your privilege without feeling like personally responsible for the situation. I am personally responsible for what I choose to do, knowing what I know, but I'm not responsible for what happened, hundreds of years ago, right? So I don't feel guilty, but I feel very conscious.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.